Hey, this is Yasuki Wolf, and today I'd like to go into a little bit more detail about manga's MochiKomi. MochiKomi is the Japanese word referring to the process of bringing your manga into an editor to be reviewed. So how does one make an appointment with an editor at a Japanese magazine for manga? Well, I talked about this a little bit in one of my other videos, but just for review's sake, we'll go into it one more time and try to go into a little bit more detail this round. So, it's fairly easy if you're living in Japan. If you're outside of Japan, I'm not particularly sure. I'm guessing you'd probably have to go to their website and look for the phone number for the editor's office off the website. But if you're in Japan, all you gotta do is go to your nearest convenience store or bookstore or whatever, any place that has manga magazines out for people to view, and pick up a magazine that looks like it has a similar style to the type of manga style that you're aiming for. And then you're going to find either in the inside cover or possibly on the back side of the manga there should be a place where it has a phone number, and it'll have I think Henshubu or something along those lines written, which would be the editor's office. And then you could just jot down that number, maybe take a folder or whatever. And so that's the number you have to call to talk to the editors. So you get home and you get your stuff together, and there's a few things you're going to have to tell them when you call. First of all, when you call, the words you want to say is, of course, you're going to have to do this in Japanese because they don't have English speakers on call at these offices. So maybe something like, "Sumimasen, mochikomi shitai desu kedo." It's like, excuse me, I'd like to mochikomi. I'm sorry, I just can't think of a simple way to translate mochikomi. Like, I'd like to bring my manga in. And then, like, usually they'll ask you a couple questions. First things you're going to have to answer is, well, just what your pen name is, and how long your manga is. And maybe they might ask you what genre it is, but I don't know, for the most part, those two, like, maybe your whatever pen name you want to use, you give them that, and then you tell them how long it is. And I mentioned before, you want it to be about 24 to 40 pages long. 16 is also doable, but it's harder to get a grasp of the story with only 16 pages. Okay, so then one other very important thing is to have a couple dates in mind of times when you can see them, because you don't want to just be like, oh, I'd like to come bring my manga in this Friday at 4 p.m. And they'd say, oh, sorry, we don't have any time. We're busy at that time. And then you don't want to just be there like, oh, okay, well, I'll call back later. No, you want to have a couple dates ready and be like, I could bring it in any day, Monday through Friday after 4 p.m. And then they'd look at their schedule and they'd be like, okay, how about next week Sunday or something? Next Sunday wouldn't be Monday through Friday. How about next week on Tuesday or whatever? And then you can make that date and you're ready to see them. Okay, so now you got your date and you're ready to go into the office. You look up on the internet to find out where their address is, or it might actually even be written in the magazine. Just find their address. For example, I think I remember that the Jump office was the Jump office was at Jimbocho station, and I remember there's a couple other stations that I went to fairly often for a lot of the magazines. But for the most part, almost any place you would want to go to is going to be in Tokyo. There's some in like Osaka and Kyoto and Kansai and whatnot, but for the most part, if you're in Tokyo, it's a pretty safe bet. So what do you wear to go see them? This is one of the questions that came up in our class when our teacher taught this to us for the first time, and I think the options were like A, wear a suit, B, just wear your regular clothes, or C, like wear your favorite cosplay or something. And the answer was, of course, D, any of the above. It really doesn't matter. And that's one of the really beautiful things about like the creative side of like creative fields, is that you don't have to worry so much about like your resume and things like that. It's like, and like your presentation, like for example, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you don't have to bring a resume either. All you gotta bring is your manga, because that's your face. Like it's not your face that matters, it's that manga. At least that's what our teacher told us. I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in the future, but later in this video. But yeah, so it doesn't really matter what you wear. You can wear pretty much anything you want. That's not particularly an issue. Another thing was some people asked if it would be a good idea to bring like some treats or something to give to the editor, because in Japan they have like a tradition when you enter another person's home, you bring them a present or something. And the answer to that is no, definitely not. You should not bring anything to give to the editor when you see them. That I think they'll probably take that the wrong way. So don't do anything like that. Just bring yourself and your manga. That's basically it. And so when you go to the shupansha, when you go to the publisher, you have to find whatever entrance it is that you could get in there, and there's probably gonna be like a ketsuke. They're gonna be like a place, like a what's a ketsuke? Reception. Yeah, there's gonna be like a reception desk or something, and you're gonna go up to there, and once again you have to do this in Japanese. Like say if you had a appointment at like 3 o'clock or something, you'd be like Sanji no yakusoku no urufu nan desu kedomo. Like so it's like I'm whatever my name is, and I have an appointment at this time to see, and then you're gonna say the whatever the editor's name is that you had an appointment with. So make sure, yeah, that's another thing, when you call them the first time, make sure you jot down the editor's name, because that's going to be kind of hard if you forget their name and you go to the office and you're just like, oh, I'm here to see someone, and they're like, who? It's like, can't remember. That's not going to reflect good on you, so make sure you get their name. I remember it's different with each place. Like I remember some places where like it was like there was like the reception desk and everything, and it was very easy. Like you just walked in, the reception desk was there, you told them, and they called the person, he came down. Like Jump was like that. Jump is a really nice building. You walk in, and there's a reception desk with a whole bunch of like cute Japanese girls that you talk to, and you just tell them that you want to see this guy, and then they message him, and they tell you to sit at desk number 6 or 7 or something, because they have like a whole like spread of desks, meeting areas that you would go to. So you go to one of those, and the editor will come down from on high or whatever floor he's on, and he comes down and he'll meet you there. And so Jump was fairly easy. There were other places though where it was like I think it was Shueisha maybe. Wait, no, seriously, Shueisha was Jump. So no, it was Kodansha, I think. Kodansha, they're like what magazines did Kodansha do? It's not coming to my brain right now, but like if you know like Record of Lodoss Wars, I think they published that, and like some other things like that. But anyways, when I went there, I remember like it was just such a huge building, and like you had to find a special entrance to get into it, and then once you got in there, like it was hard to find where the reception desk was, and like pardon me, and then like I remember once I finally got it, like there's like, because like in Kodansha there's like a number of different magazines, so like you had to like find the right floor for the magazine you were going to see. So that was kind of crazy, and I think it was morning or afternoon, like, and a couple other places where like even once like you would get up to the floor of whatever the editor's office is, and there's like no reception or anything up there, so it's like you're like looking around, you're like, and it's literally like it's like this work office, and you see all these people just in their cubicles working and stuff, and you're like, okay, what should I do? And like sometimes there'll be like a map on the like a paper map like hung on the wall, and it will have everyone's names written on there. So you like would look on there for the name of the person that you're supposed to meet, and then like go over to where you think he is or something, or just call off to or you could like call someone nearby to like help you. But like I just remember sometimes it was kind of depending on which magazine it was, there was always like there was sometimes it was a bit of a maze to find the person you needed to talk to. But like I said, like the bigger places like Jump, well, I guess Kodansha is pretty big too. But anyways, with Jump, I remember it was really easy there, and most places are probably pretty easy. You just walk to the first floor, talk to the reception desk, and then they call the person down to meet you. Was it Afternoon? I think was that the publisher for Blade of the Immortal? I think so. I remember they were that way too. They were just a reception desk on the first floor, and then they had an office there that I just waited at for the guy to come down. But yeah, so that's everything leading up to when you meet them. But so now you're waiting there, and what do you do while you're waiting? Well, get your manga out. You don't want to like just be sitting there and then they get there and then you take stuff out of of your bag or whatever. No, while you're waiting, just get your manga out. You might be served like some ocha, like green tea or something, so you could drink a little bit of that if you want. But just like get your manga out and get yourself ready to go. And so then when they come there, how did it go exactly? It may be a little different with each place, but basically they come in, and I think like you would stand up and like bow, and like they would introduce themselves, you introduce yourself, and then you'd be like yoroshiku onegaishimasu, and like generally like I think most of the time they would if your manga was out there, they would like take it and they'd say like, okay, I'll take a look at it now, and then they just, so the first like 5-10 minutes of your meeting is just them flipping through your manga. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but you're bringing a genko. It's like it's like the paper, like how you say, it's actually like the manga, the original manga written on the manga paper. So like you're not like printing it out and like binding it or anything. It's just like the loose papers. So they'll just flip through that, and it has your original drawings on it. So it's not like you usually don't bring copies or whatnot unless you're working digitally. Then you know that's an exception because you have to print that out. But anything that's if you're not working digitally, you should just bring the original. And so yeah, so they read through it, and after they finish reading, they'll usually just tell you their impressions about it. And they'll say like, oh, I really liked this part, or I didn't really like this part. You need to work on this and that. And they'll tell you like what you need to do to improve, what they think you should do to improve it. And the kind of cool thing is like even if you are completely not a match for their company, like or for their magazine, it's not like they're just going to be like, oh, sorry, this is crap, go away. You know, they give you advice all the time. And that's the reason why I said that if you could get this down, you probably don't even have to go to school, because if you got that, like they'll tell you what they're looking for, and then you could just work on that on your own. And so I mean, unless you like really need a teacher to be looking over you, to like directing you in order to motivate yourself to work, like you could just hear what they tell you, and then just try to improve that on your own, and then go in again with your next manga and see if it gets any better. And so what kind of results do you get from these MochiKomis? Well, after looking at if most of the time they're probably just going to look at it, they're going to give you their impressions, and then that'll be that. And you'll thank them for their time, and you go off on your way and like write memos and just try to fix it for the next time that you bring it to a magazine. Maybe bring the same manga to other magazines or whatnot. But sometimes they will give you their business card. So it's not standard to give business cards. So if they do give you a business card, that generally means that they want to work with you more, and that's more or less means that they're going to be your Tonto. Sometimes they might say it specifically. Other times they'll just tell you to like contact them when you have new work or stuff or whatever. But basically they're just telling you that they want to see more of your work, and they want you to come in and meet them more often. And that's basically what it is to establish a Tonto. I mentioned that in my other videos. Tonto is like I'm not, I guess it's like your manager, I guess. Like it's the editor that manages you for that magazine. And so that's the first step to getting your stuff published. So if you have a Tonto, then that means that you can keep going to that magazine over and over again and keep keep seeing that same person, and they're going to try to help you make like the best manga you can in order to get it published within their magazine. And so like for myself, like I eventually got a Tonto at Young Jump magazine. I mentioned that a little bit before, and what changed a lot is that before I only could bring in finished works to magazines, but once you have a Tonto and you have that relationship, you can just bring in like your roughs. We generally call it a name. That's like just like a rough version of your manga. That's before you go into the inking and everything. And that's actually not even right. It's not a pencil. It's before you even pencil it. It's basically just like a very, very rough rough thumbnail version of your manga, basically. And so like I was able to bring in like various names for different types of mangas, because especially with my particular Tonto is that he liked my drawing, but he didn't like my stories. So a lot of the time, a lot of what was going on with me working with him after that wasn't me trying to improve my drawing style to fit the magazine as so much as it was trying to come up with a story that the magazine would like. So so actually after I got that Tonto, I didn't really do a finished manga. I don't know. I think I may have done one finished manga, one or two finished mangas after that, but for the most part, I was just drawing lots and lots of names, which is just getting the ideas out there for him to see, and like getting his advice about it, and trying to change it until I got a story that he liked. Because once I got a story that he liked, then I would be able to actually finish it. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but first I just want to go over a little bit about the process of what it takes to get published. So the first step was to get your Tonto, and then once you get the Tonto, then you work with them for a while, and you try to get a really good finished manga that he can present to his head editor or whatever, and also probably put into competitions that the magazine might have. So basically, in general, I mean, it could be different. Like maybe your first manga is gold and it just gets published right away. But in general, it's going to be something like you draw a manga, you bring it into the editors. Someone picks you up as to manage you, and then you work with them for a while. Then you draw another manga under their guidance that they then put to a competition. And if you win that competition, then that earns you the right to be published. But even then, that's still generally a one-shot deal where you just get one short 24-page or 16-page manga or something published in one of their magazines, and then they look and see how the ratings go. If your published manga, and keep in mind, I'm saying published manga, but we're only talking about 20, 30 pages or something along those lines. You're not talking about a full book. So it's not like you get to publish Naruto or something like that. It's like you get a little snippet of your work in their magazine for 1 month or 1 week, depending on what type of magazine it is. And so then once that's published, then they look at the ratings of that. And if you have high ratings, if people seem to like your work, then they'll give you another chance to do more, and if it seems promisable, then they might give you a series. And even with a series, though, if the ratings go down, it could be canceled. It's not like a definite thing, and that kind of leads into why I kind of started going away from manga, because to talk a little bit about my experience with MochiKomi and stuff, I went to more editors than I can recall. I went to Jump, Young Jump, I went to Magazine. Yes, there is a magazine called Magazine, that is the name. But yes, I went to Magazine, I went to Morning, Afternoon. Yes, there's magazines called Morning and Afternoon. I think there actually might be one called Evening too. But anyways, and I went to Gangan Joker, I went to Young Joker, I went to Young Animal, and I'm sure I went to more, but I just can't think of them right now. But yeah, every time I did a manga, I sort of did the rounds of a lot of different editors. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention is that if you are in Japan, you can also bring your manga to conventions like Comitia, Comitia. That's a good convention. They usually have a lot of booths there with different editors that are there to see your work. And with the convention, you actually don't even have to have finished work. I think they'll see pretty much anything that you'll show them. The only disadvantage of that I mentioned before is that they're seeing 100 people that day, so it might be harder to stand out. But I do know that there was a person that we had a convention at my school. It was our school's particular convention, and I remember there was a number of people actually that got Tontos at that convention, and one person got it with only a 16-page manga too, which was pretty impressive. But yeah, what was I saying before that? Oh yeah, my experience. So yeah, I went to a lot of places. I got a lot of advice, and eventually, just from seeing all the editors, my manga improved, and I was I got to the point where I was able to get my editor, and this is going back to the thing that my teacher said about it only being like your face is your manga and nothing else matters. That is mostly true, but I did find that like toward the end, after having gone to a lot of different places, I found that it is beneficial to be a little bit, I'm not going to say aggressive, but like forward thinking. I can't think of the right English. But basically, like, you want to be very attentive to everything they're saying, and you want to have a real can-do attitude. Like basically, don't get like butthurt and be like what do you mean? What do you mean my work looks like this? Or like, oh, like don't spend too much time trying to defend your work. Like, don't be like oh well I did that because of this, you know, or like I did that because of that or that. Like whenever they bring something up, like be like, you don't want to like defend your work so much. Just be like, oh, okay, I see what you mean, and then offer reasons why you like thoughts that you have how you could improve it. You'd be like, I see what you mean. Like next time if I did something more like this, would that be better? And then they could like give you your feedback and go back and forth, and just have like a real can-do attitude. Like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna do that, and just because it is true that your manga is the main thing, but also they want to make sure that you're someone that they could work with. So you really want to have this like this rapport. That was the word I was looking for. You really have to have this sort of rapport, so that they feel like, oh, this is the person I could work with, and then I found that kind of improved my chances of being able to get them